Fear and Hunger is known for a lot of things. It's got some of the best combat I've seen from RPG Maker, it's got interesting lore, and let's not talk about the stingers. Then, Termina came out, and it draws a lot more focus to the character writing. I've been very impressed by how every character seems to have a surprise or two, and there's a few more surprises I'd like to talk about. So, first note, major spoilers, of course, and this game is really messed up, so if you're not interested in disturbing content, don't look at this. This analysis is for people who already know Termina, but all you really need to know is that everyone hates this guy named Kaiser, and everyone eventually turns into a monster. I'm going to be giving some particular focus to those monsters. Now, let's start with Levi. The first thing you'll see when you boot up character selection is some guy in fatigues, listed as an ex-soldier. If you just scroll past Levi, though, you might not think more about that. Glance a bit longer, and you'll see that he's 18 and has been in service since he was 13. Okay, that subverts the expectations of a veteran character, and it makes it pretty clear to everyone that being ex-military isn't always a good thing. The effect it had on him is pretty clear in-game. He's reclusive, scared, and he's usually addicted to heroin. If he does join you, he'll rarely have much to say, but he's more than just an example of why war is bad. While at first you might just think he's aloof because he's an edgy soldier, the more time you spend with him, the more clear it is he's probably just an introverted person, and it's his personality as much as his circumstance that's causing all this. He does have the solitary soul, after all. If you read his mind, though, he's fully aware of how quiet he is. He's cursing that he doesn't know how to talk to people normally after his time in the army. Still, it wasn't entirely bad for him. If you do have to fight Levi, he's the only character completely immune to persuasion. He goes into some kind of combat mode, just like the Bremen troopers do when you fight them. He's got mental conditioning for combat, but it completely fails him in day-to-day life. Due to his difficult mental state, he spends the first half of the festival hiding from people, scared that they'll come after him. And if you don't get him help, he'll mutate before the second night. This is called Moonscorched, and it happens to all the contestants eventually if this festival keeps going. It's pretty easy to read into what the moon did to him. You can find Levi freaking out in the streets, waving his gun around, only now, that gun is fused with his face. He's sobbing, scared, and he's just as likely to shoot you as he is to run off. When he finally curls up in the orphanage, he won't even fight you. Most Moonscorched are hostile, but not him. Even if he has a gun. You fight him anyways, and he's still very lethal. But thanks to the army, he's a hardened killer, but he doesn't want to do anything with that. Olivia is just so freaking nice, but that's not because her life's a cakewalk. Unfortunately for her, the first thing people assume is that the wheelchair is their only problem. Deep down, she hates when people bring it up, maybe more the condition itself. To her, though, it's the lesser of her problems. Olivia grew up under oppressive parents, with her sister, Rayla, as her only company. And as much as the two loved each other, Olivia felt a painful amount of jealousy. Olivia wasn't stupid, but Rayla just seemed smarter, more athletic, better than her. They had entirely different interests, but Olivia found that when she tried to copy Rayla, she would just fail miserably. When Olivia did fall ill, Rayla was the only one pushing for proper medical treatment. This saved Olivia's life, but damaged her legs, leaving her in a wheelchair. As bad as this was for Olivia, she just thought of how it would widen the perceived gap between her and her sister. While Olivia studied botany, Rayla was working with the military and eventually rebel groups. How could plants compare to starting a revolution? Comparing herself to Rayla, Olivia felt like nobody. But when she learned her sister broke out of prison after being accused of treason, Olivia immediately investigates and heads to her last known location. That's impressive in its own right, but that's not what was crossing Olivia's mind. Her care for her sister is still stronger than her feelings of inadequacy. Oddly enough, what does make her feel more adequate is when you find a gun. Olivia finds herself shocked with how right it feels when she gets her hands on a gun. The festival seems to be an empowering experience for her. Olivia stays out of the drama of the festival for the most part, but then the Pocket Cat kidnaps her. And with all the stress being forced into the festival, it's not long before she becomes Moonscorched, but it's very interesting when she does. She becomes a mechanical dance, a metal humanoid thing with only base resemblance to Olivia. Instead of having toxic nettle mist spray from the plant she studies, she has vents that spit out poison gas. Olivia screams about how she's a monster, barely human. It's easy to see this as a manifestation of her stress about people seeing her disability, but it might not be that simple. If you ask what happened, she'll say she's been like this forever. But she's only been in a wheelchair a quarter of her life. She's probably just exaggerating, but she might be being literal. Long before her illness, she still always felt like a nobody when compared to her sister. To her, the wheelchair is just an extension of those worries. Olivia hates to be defined by her disability, If you assume that's your main problem, then you might be making the same mistake. Henryk seems like a bit of a prick from the first minute of the festival. He's a bit rude and he dismisses everyone's theories that the train, and he insists it was just a regular dream. Fair enough. Then he's harassing Abella about her butt, which is much less reasonable. He's a bit of a caveman. If you fight him, he's actually one of the toughest contestants. He can take more hits and he hits hard. Meanwhile, if you absorb his suffocated soul, he gives you both cooking and melee skills. He also has the highest body count of the festival, as in some cases he'll poison everyone you brought to the jazz club. But Henryk doesn't want to be a Neanderthal. If you stick with Henryk, he'll try to cook for the other contestants, maybe to make up for his behavior, or maybe just to distract himself from the festival. The further you get into the festival, the more he gets drawn into his cooking. He'll tell you he would have been an artist, but he needed money, so he cooks instead. Now he sees cooking as his art, and it works quite well for him. As long as he feels dignified. While Henryk can reach great highs or lows if you work with him, he'll be the first contestant to transform if you neglect him. He'll stumble into the mayor's house, a house with a basement filled with pure darkness, the kind which can transform people in the same way the moon does. But it's not just the basement. It's a refined manor with 3 floors, a dining room, even a moonscorched butler who will come to serve Henryk. It's too perfect, like it was made for him. Visit him too late, and you'll find him at the Gentleman, a hulking, ugly manifestation of his caveman energy. But now his clothes have grown to fit perfectly, as well. He has a comically large fork and a comically large knife. Just like Henryk, the monster tries to be elegant. One wrong word and the facade will crack, and he'll try to eat you to forget the bad experience. But if you're polite and you don't disrupt him, he's the only Moonscorched you can have a peaceful conversation with. He's much more a brute than before, but much more obsessed with being civilized. It's easy to completely miss Abella. If you go the wrong way off the train, she'll mutate before you can see her again. So the game gives you some good opportunity to learn about her first. Speaking with either Henryk or her gives her some idea of what she's about. She's a mechanic, likes to do things head on, doesn't like when there isn't a clear path to a solution. So she enjoys her logic and her machines. She's also a part of the NLU, the same revolutionary group that Olivia's sister is involved in. And Abella's not the best at lying about it. She's snooping for the NLU the whole way through, but her excuses about needing train parts are pretty weak. She doesn't really need to hide it, though. She has a good heart, but she's hard-headed. She uses engineering if she can't use force. The best skill she can learn in the game is throwing her wrench at people. Abella's transformation is strange for a couple reasons, although it does seem related to her hands-on approach to situations. It's a huge monster that lives in your walls, and then it comes out, runs up to you, crushes your skull. Pretty simple. But why does she mutate so fast? It seems like it has little to do with her character. That might be from a meta standpoint, but there's some reason given in-game. Henryk is going to go crazy from the house he's in, but you can snap him out of it. While we don't see what causes Abella to transform, Dan's theorized that her elephant face might be from a parasite latching onto her. There's not much to go off other than that. Its name is a reference based on its appearance. It's awesome to see Chognar smash through that elevator shaft, but there's not much personality coming from this thing. Perhaps we'll see more about Abella or Chognar in a later update. Marcoh is pretty simple and chill. He's quiet like Levi, but he's not scared of anyone. He's just chilling by the train, thinking about what a bad person he is. Marcoh killed, like, a guy in a boxing match, so a mafia boss wouldn't torture his sister. Then he got mad and killed the mafia boss. Marcoh feels pretty bad about killing the first guy. He's a good guy and he goes out of his way to help people in the festival, but he's always thinking about what a bad man he's been, and it hurts him. Helping Tanaka train and helping Olivia through the city distracts him, and he seems much more alive with Olivia in the party. Still, things can go wrong. Despite how level-headed he appears, Marcoh will transform on day 3 when he gets stuck in another dimension. He morphs into an odd shape. He's still huge and muscular, but now he's always carrying, like, a whole man with him, and his torso looks like Grogoras was put through Deep Dream. What could explain this? Oh, he's literally just screaming the word guilt repeatedly. Yeah, I think this might be related to his guilt about killing that boxer. Apparently the monster is fueled by rage, and its head, let's say grows when you fight it. Marcoh is pretty simple, though, and its transformation might be simple, too. The guy who dies first is a polite, plain businessman named Tanaka. He's the most grounded contestant we know of, just a foreign businessman who gets a lot of pressure from his father to work hard. But even if he's not ready, he's not an idiot. By the evening of the first day, if he lives that long, he'll be comfortable accepting that there's something supernatural going on he doesn't understand. And if he survives until the second evening, he'll start leveling up so he can handle upheaval, using the same diligence his father instilled in him. Tanaka has the latent soul. While he could be the most dangerous man in the festival, that hasn't come out yet. It's coming out fast, though. Come day 3, and Tanaka will witness Marcoh transform while scavenging. Tanaka swears he'll avenge Marcoh and face Perkele himself. Tanaka is stronger than he was before, but this still probably is absurd. Depending on your actions, come the night, Tanaka will be killed by August. Tanaka participated in the festival to try to get to top the tower, it seems. But what's interesting is that August said it was a fair fight. 2 days of training, and Tanaka can throw hands with August. The other way things can go, August dies first, and Tanaka transforms before he can win. As judgment, Tanaka gets enveloped in the Sigma grind set his father taught him. Aside from the gruesome injuries, he's mostly human, and he can even talk to you about his transformation. He's broken through the glass ceiling, apparently, and he doesn't seem to mind how much damage that caused him. Tanaka was taught hard work is necessary, and it seems that as judgment, he's quite literally worked himself to death. Of course, the work does manifest as him trying to kill you. Perhaps he's still trying to win that festival. Osawa is a bit hard to consider without thinking about his relationship with the first game. Aside from being a yellow mage, which was a notable enemy in Fear and Hunger 1, Osawa's character creation has him going through the dungeons of fear and hunger 400 years after the first game. Getting in and out of the dungeons live is a pretty big deal, so Osawa thinks he's hot shit. Yellow mages serve themselves, not the gods. They just use their power. This is the idea, anyways. Osawa was an apprentice following other yellow mages to the dungeon, but found himself the only one mentally prepared to enter and leave. He comes out with the living, disembodied head of Nasra, a powerful, evil wizard and the father of the yellow mages. Osawa doesn't trust Nasra, but listens to him anyways, hoping to learn from him. This is how Nasra leads Osawa willingly to the Festival of Termina. Osawa sees himself as smart, powerful, and independent. You can find him all over the place in the festival, but he'll almost never agree to work with you. Most of the time, he'll just threaten you and blow your limbs off if you get close. One time, he's just screwing around. Another time, you'll find him investigating the technology underground. He's fascinated by it, but he's likely just there because of Nasra. Nasra is one of the many people here just to kill the Kaiser. But if he's just listening to Nasra, is he really as independent as he thinks he is? He's cut himself off from his family and the other yellow mages, but what does he even want? If Osawa survives the festival, he'll sort out his wants to an extent. Osawa will throw Nasra's head into a lake and start his own religion with him at the top. Seems pretty independent, but he might just be mimicking Nasra. If instead Osawa is Moonscorched, not much changes for him. He'll be sitting in the road again, blowing your limbs off if you get close. The only difference now is that his head replaced with a yellow blob. He's a bit stronger and his eyes floating outside his head, but other than that, he just can't talk, he just mumbles. Some see this as a reference to the mumblers of the first game, but there's not too much resemblance. The fact he can't talk is notable, though. Osawa's voice was removed. He has no face and no agency. Just aimlessly sits around for evil as he always did. Pav is one of the rarer contestants. It's easy to miss every encounter with Pav, and then he'll just die off screen. In the first few times you do see him, he'll make a joke about shooting you, and then the next time he'll actually kill 2 other contestants because one punched him. This must be one of those gremlin pigs that Karin was worried about. If you go really out of your way on day 1, you can meet Pav properly and learn a bit more, and you'll witness him trying to shoot the Kaiser. It turns out his home was destroyed by the Kaiser, and he'll spend the rest of his life rising the ranks in the Bremen army to get revenge. This doesn't go over very well for him, but even if you save his life, he's still too pissed to talk much. There's not much we can know about Pav, but his chaotic soul goes along fairly well with how willing he is to shoot everyone. With what we do know, it seems likely that Pav had to become so ruthless to rise the ranks of the Bremen military, and he was fully willing to do so. To get close to the Kaiser, he had to suck just like him. August is the other mysterious contestant, and they have more than that in common with Pav. While we don't fully understand why August came to the festival, it seems the desire to kill Kaiser motivates at least part of it, and August isn't too cocky to be trying. Nasra is wary of him, and if you don't take him seriously, he'll blow your head off on the first turn. Unlike Pav, though, August doesn't slink off before the first morning. He's glad to chat with the other contestants, and he'll even go out of his way to save you if he finds you hurt. That's something we won't see from most other contestants. Still, he'll never stay long. It seems like he has more important business, but his conscience makes it hard for him to ditch the other contestants. He's still quite mysterious. He'll talk to you, but he'll tell you more about the Kaiser than about himself. There's also the giant cave wolf under the town he's friends with, the same wolf from the first game. Based on this, and because he has a tormented soul, people figure he's related to Ragnvalder from the first game. It's a nice callback, like with Osawa, but it distracts from his own identity as a character. If August survives until night of day 3, he just dies. August never transforms, he always dies first. It's possible we'll get transformations for Pav and August in the future, but nothing exists yet. When you're first scrolling through character selection, Karin is shown as a war journalist with persuasion skills. She isn't the Undertale character her bio would have you believe, though. When you first get off the train, she just seems like she's trying to start a fight. She'll insult anyone who disagrees with her and say no to things before you even ask. What's with the ego? Did covering wars make her cynical? Karin had quite the chaotic life. A riot tears apart her family, her babysitter kidnaps her and holds her for years, the army beats her unconscious when she participates in civil rights protests. She didn't let all that get to her, though. The whole affair gave her a huge sense of righteousness and a self-confidence in general. She even believes in some sixth sense that allows her to understand people better. As a journalist, she sees herself as a Valkyrie, drawing attention to and honoring the suffering of the soldiers. She still tries to bring atrocities to light, with recent wars leading to a disgust with the Bremen army in particular because of the atrocities it commit, and she gets deep into conspiracies involving the army's leader, the Kaiser. Her suspicions lead to her to Prahevel, and she doesn't want anyone telling her that it's not the Bremen's fault the city's a mess. Karin's an asshole, but she's always trying to do the right thing. Some of the contestants are nice, but Karin gets beat unconscious and still tries to make the world a better place. If you try Karin's persuasion option in battle, you might notice that most of them don't really show charisma, they just show a sincere interest in stopping the fight or in doing the right thing. Unfortunately, what Karin doesn't understand is that virtue doesn't justify being a jerk, and it certainly doesn't help her case. As toxic as Karin is, she's a fighter. She'll stay sane up until the evening of day 3. There, she'll talk about her Valkyrie idea, but she'll note that others see war journalists as vultures, circling war zones to profit off the dying soldiers. She's having some doubts about her Valkyrie idea herself. Gets to nighttime, and Karin finally mutates, becoming a bird that barely even resembles her old human form. She'll call herself the Valkyrie. Good for her! Too bad the warriors she immortalizes are live monsters that try to kill you. Despite it all, the beast is still Karin. You can tell because no matter what you say to her, she totally ignores it and just repeats herself. There's one more problem. Even if she calls herself one, Valkyries aren't birds. Did Karin turn herself into a Valkyrie or into a vulture? Caligura is an asshole. That's about it. He subverts your expectations by just being an asshole. Apparently he's some high-up mobster, but he just seems like a common thug throughout the festival. You can't find him too often, but he'll shove people in the first encounter with him, and every other one, someone's probably gonna die. He'll say things like, "I'll fuck you up, you piece of shit! I'll shove this pipe so deep you'll be taken for a cock horse!" And he has a decrepit soul. I believe the decrepit soul represents the fact that he sucks. Once you reach the night of day 2, Caligura will turn into a disgusting, hairy mass of flesh, simply named Monster. If you have Daan dissect it, you won't even recognize it as a human. But when you talk to it, it just seems identical to Caligura. It tells you to choke on its balls. You can probably hear the same from Caligura in its human form. Caligura isn't hiding anything. He's just a guy who sucks. Out of all the Moonscorched monsters, Caligura is probably the one who transforms the least. Marina keeps the appearance of a cheery teenager with nothing to hide. She'll call you a Chad. She'll scratch ritual circles in the floor of the train, and she'll happily explain what the ritual circles are for to you. She won't bore you with any details, but she's an occultist returning home from the Vatican City. She just leaves out why she's coming home, because she doesn't want to think about it either. Marina was born as the first son of a dark priest, and under tradition, that would force her into the path of a dark priest as well. So her mom raised her as a girl instead. But her father always seemed jealous of Marina's freedom, and worse than that, he was a big jerk. So, Marina started studying away at Vatican City, so she could be free of her father. But she can't be free of her father if she can't stop thinking about him. When she gets a letter from her father telling her that mom is dead, Marina thinks her father must be to blame for this and heads home to confront him. So, now she's at the train outside Prahevel. She's constantly thinking about her father, but she's too scared to go to the church and actually see him. After the first day, she'll move to the bookstore a block away from the church, but she'll never go in without you prodding her about it. When she discovers her father dead, she'll say he deserved it, but that's only a part of her feelings. She feels a dozen different ways about his death. The thoughts overwhelm her in her mind, but she's not much she can do about it. She can't really process anything yet. If the time comes and Marina mutates, it's clear she never stops thinking about her father. She turns into this. I love this design, but holy shit. To her, the cocoon sprouting from where her head was is her father, and it's telling her to kill you. At least half the monster didn't want to kill you this time. Sure, the original Marina wouldn't have listened to her father, but he still affected everything she did. He's even why she came to this town in the first place. Still, Marina wasn't the only occultist coming off the train. Samarie also studied at the Vatican City, but until the Termina festival, Marina never knew her. The reverse isn't true, though. Samarie is part of the Ninth Circle, a group of kids who are isolated and used for channeling the old gods. This ruined Samarie's social skills and her health. She didn't have long left to live. To give her life any meaning beyond a failed ritual, Samarie latched onto Marina. She used her mind-reading ability to stalk Marina in her daily life and read her thoughts. It wasn't so much a secret as it was that Samarie didn't even realize this is one-sided. The only meaning she found was loving Marina, even if Marina had no idea. By the time of the festival, Samarie had rushed to the church and reluctantly killed Marina's father. If you get there right after the murder, Samarie can be calmed and brought back to the train. She won't have much to say, though. The Ninth Circle did nothing for her social skills. She's worse off in Levi. She feels like a mess, and it's not hard to imagine why. Mind reading is all Samarie knows of social interaction. Since leaving the Ninth Circle, she probably looks into everyone's heads, and all they see is a freak. If you don't get to the church fast enough, she'll have rationalized killing Marina's father, and no matter how you talk to her, she'll break down and immediately morph into her Moonscorched form, Dysmorphia. It's not a pretty sight, if you can get a good idea of it based on the name alone. Samarie reads others' thoughts, and other people think she's a weird, gross goblin. So that's how she sees herself. A weird, gross goblin. But unlike how the mechanical dance begs you not to look at her, Dysmorphia demands you witness her. She's radiating. What the hell does that mean? Well, radiating is her soul type, and if you summon the radiating one, it says to embrace your flaws, embrace your imperfections. As Dysmorphia, Samarie isn't giving up like she does on the train. She's seeing herself as a freak, deciding to be proud of it, and distancing herself even further from those around her. Dan's a hard guy not to like. He's just a polite doctor who takes the situation seriously, but he's not a hard-ass that can't take a joke either. He's not perfect, but it's nice to just have a reasonable person around. Maybe that's why he has a blank soul. He doesn't have much of a strong identity. Medicine wasn't even a path he took for himself, it was just convenient. His parents were followers of the old god Sylvian, and when they got lost in worship of the god and left Dan on the streets, he had to find work somehow. He worked for the local baron, who taught Dan medicine in exchange for his knowledge of Sylvian. It was just a path that presented itself to Dan. Dan then fell in love with the baron's daughter, Elise. But after being conscripted to the Great War, he eventually came home to find the baron and Elise dead in some odd ritual circles. He investigates the ritual as best as he can, and the city of Perheval keeps coming up. He goes there because there's not much else for him to do. Dan will spend the first day of the festival trying to help the sick villagers, but by the second day, he'll be completely enamored with an odd sigil he finds in an apartment building. This is the same sigil he saw under the Baron's corpse. If you don't distract Dan from this sigil, then it'll be the last time you see him. Dan was doomed before he even reached Perheval. He came for answers, but nothing is going to satisfy him. He can discover the Baron's death is somehow related to the Sulphur God. He can even discover Elise and the Baron reborn as monsters. But nothing will satisfy him. If you abandon Dan in the apartment, or even if he escapes this festival alive, he will fall to despair. He lost all that he lived for. And worse, the Pocket Cat takes an interest in him. We don't fully understand what the Pocket Cat is. He's some kind of servant of the moon god Rare, but it seems that it's a role taken by whoever has his mask. I guess his blank soul must be a perfect vessel for whatever it is. Dan doesn't transform the way the other contestants do. He'll just replace the existing Pocket Cat, with only a difference in clothing. You might not even notice a difference until you kill him. Their words are the same, their mannerisms, their pocket thing. This is nothing like the Dan we know. But the Pocket Cat can complement Dan's pants before the change, and he'll take the pants after it. The Pocket Cat also has a hidden room in Rare's dimension. If Dan takes over, a room full of toys is replaced with a crime scene, presumably where the Baron and Elise died. Is Dan just a vessel for the mask, or is he still in control? It's hard to say. And that's all I know, for now. There's still much more to the contestants, like how cynical Olivia can be at times, or how Tanaka actually beats up Needles a bit. But there's too much to talk about at once, so if you haven't played much, there's still a lot of secrets to discover. I'm excited to see what else we can learn in future updates. This video took me a couple weeks to make, and I'd love to learn more from it. If you didn't like it, please leave a comment. If you say honestly what sucks about it, I want to hear it. But if you did like it, please let me know as well. Oh, if you've never had goulash before, you should try goulash. It's actually really good.